Joining me now is Royal Editor for the Daily Mirror, Russel Myers. Russell, a cracking report this week about a conversation between former Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Prince Harry regarding Harry leaving the UK. Please tell us what happened.
Well, hi, Caroline. Well, you know, often on this show, we speak about the sublime and the ridiculous, don't we, about the royal family? And this is certainly on the latter stages, because this is from Boris Johnson's new explosive memoir, and nobody has been spared, you know, from him revealing the intimate details of what went on in government, but also what went on behind palace walls. And he said that back in January 2020, when Harry and Meghan were deciding to leave the royal family and set off all those bombs that we're still talking about from inside the palace, that he was sent on a ridiculous mission, he called it, by both people at the palace and people inside Number 10 to try and have a manly one-to-one chat with the Duke of Sussex to try and convince him to stay put in Britain, to try and help, you know, Team UK and to not go on his way to the United States. But we all know what obviously happened. Harry was very steadfast in his view, along with Meghan, to go upon their own path, and certainly it didn't work. And Boris Johnson sort of revealed that this mission he was sent on was absolutely doomed from the start.
That's fascinating. But it does get weirder. Harry made an appearance on Jimmy Fallon's show this week. Here it is.
Jimmy?
Way to go, Murphy. Oh my gosh, hello. Nice to see you. You look nice. After you, please.
Russell, I thought this was all a bit weird. What was it all about?
Well, it's part of Harry's sort of reinvention, I think, because he's been seen at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in New York, riding solo, it must be said, over the last few days. No Meghan in tow with him, and he did look pretty relaxed. And, you know, you can't get more relaxed than appearing in a skit with Jimmy Fallon, and they were visiting a haunted house. Interestingly, one of the actors didn't even recognise who Prince Harry was at the time. So that was a little bit embarrassing for him, but he took it with good gusto. And I think this is Harry in his element. He is enjoying himself, it seems, over the last few days. Perhaps that has got something to do with him riding solo. We did see him in New York talking about the Halo Trust, the Landmines Association, working in Angola, carrying on his mother's legacy. He was also speaking about the Diana Award as well. And I think this is Harry, you know, trying to find his feet a little bit. It has been a pretty topsy-turvy few months, even years, hasn't it been, for him and Meghan? And some things have gone to plan, some haven't. And when he's appearing on his own, when he's speaking about his passion projects and having a bit of a laugh as well with Jimmy Fallon, I think he looked pretty relaxed. So maybe putting to bed all these sort of rumours about whether he will or won't be wanting to come back to the UK. I think he's pretty firmly set in the United States at the moment.
And we spoke earlier in the show about this professional separation and Harry, how comfortable he does look with those wheelhouse type issues. Do you think that there's going to be more of that individual focus on that going forward?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, certainly the people I've spoken to have said that they are going back to the drawing board in terms of a PR plan. I mean, it hasn't really worked out over the last couple of years. You know, Meghan has had her Spotify podcast taken away from her. The Netflix deal is up for renewal next year. You know, that's just a few months away. Will they be renewing that? I mean, Netflix paid them an awful lot of money to deliver the goods. Has that happened? That is arguable. I think the series that they had, just the two of them, was a record breaker. However, have they delivered on further promises? I think that's what remains to be seen. They talk about projects being in the pipeline. There's lots of things to look forward to, but maybe they are better off sort of separating themselves for the time being. Meghan going on with her lifestyle brand, which seems to be, you know, making waves in some quarters, and Harry has been really enjoying himself. I think, having the stage to himself and trying to get back to basics with the issues that matter to him.
And I think that's fair enough. Some great news this week. Princess Catherine made another appearance, this time at the ballet. How was she received?
Well, certainly, you know, it is great news that we've seen that the Princess of Wales not only making that statement a few days ago about the end of her chemotherapy treatment. I mean, she spoke very, very fondly of her family, who have been a huge support people at the palace I've spoken to throughout this whole issue with her cancer treatment has said, listen, it's very important for her to spend time with family. It's very important for her to do the things that she loves. And one of those things is enjoying the arts, going to the ballet. And she was at a performance of Giselle at Sadler's Wells by the English National Ballet. She went on to social media to say how much she enjoyed that performance. And I think we are going to see her possibly before Christmas. So certainly I think we'll see her with the rest of the family at Remembrance Sunday services in November. Then, of course, she has her planning of her Christmas Carol concert that we know she undertook a meeting with her aides last week. But will we see her in a sort of a more of a private capacity, I suppose, but still a public duty role with a couple of engagements? Maybe the early years is going to feature in the near future. But I think it's very much a case of baby steps for Kate. They're trying to make sure that she is ready when she comes back to full-time duties, and I think very much a case of trying to sort of pace herself in the time being.
And we know she's finished her treatment, but will take a cautious return to duties. You've mentioned a couple of things. What is next? Is the Christmas concert probably the biggest thing in the lead up to the end of the year?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's really interesting that the Palace were talking to us last week, saying that she's having some meetings from home. I mean, and at Windsor Castle as well, just down the road from their home in Adelaide Cottage. So she's not straying too far at the moment. But again, I think it is very much a case of preparing her schedule to make sure that she's ready and give herself the best chance of success as well, because she's had sort of such a tumultuous time over the last few months. First of all, in hospital in January for her abdominal surgery, then her cancer treatment, which has been ongoing for several months. But, that's finished now. Very much a case of looking forward. I think that we will see her certainly in November at the Cenotaph in London for those Remembrance Sunday services. And, hopefully she will get to host this Christmas Carol concert in December, because it's very, very important to her, shining a light on these charities that she's worked so closely with over the last few years. So fingers crossed everything goes to plan.
I think we all have our fingers crossed. Now, this week we lost legendary British actress Dame Maggie Smith. Here she is at her finest.
I'm so looking forward to seeing your mother again. When I'm with her, I'm reminded of the virtues of the English.
But isn't she American?
Exactly.
Russell, the King released a statement passing on his heartfelt condolences. What did he have to say?
Well, he did, certainly, and I think that, feelings throughout the country and indeed the world, and the King said that she was a national treasure, Maggie Smith, and certainly we were all discussing her wit, her warmth, as the King did in his statement, her fantastic career, and she had been a guest of the King several times over the years, both at Buckingham Palace and at Sandringham. He'd welcomed her sort of into his sort of inner circle, I suppose, because he was in such huge admiration for the career that she'd had, and a real miss to the arts scene, and we send our condolences to all her friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely.